Hey guys, I'm Kimberly. Hi, how are you doing? I'm here to just share a story about this guy that I was dating. I'll just call him D, just to protect his little privacy or whatever. I had known him or met him, so to say, like years ago, like probably maybe like 20 years ago. I'm a hairstylist, and I started his locks. But he would try to pursue me back then. But of course, I'm like, you're too young. And for some reason, I just never really liked dating guys younger than me. I always wanted to stay in my age group. So, like, fast forward, so this must have been maybe around 2014 or something. And so one day I saw him taking his grandma to class at the college I was going to at UDC at the time. So I kind of recognized his face a little, but I didn't really remember his name. And so, he was like, "Man, I was just looking for you. I've been asking about you, whatever. And, let me get your number and everything." So I was single at the time. So I'm like, okay, like, why, why not? So, just for phone conversation purposes, because I do like talking to men on the phone, but I'm like, okay, I figured that couldn't hurt. So of course he called me the same day, and then we talked, and he like, "Man, I want to take you out," and I'm just like, "No, you're too young still." Like 20 years later, like, "No, you're still too young," and everything. But he just was so persistent. And so, a couple of days, couple of calls, and he's still like, "Man, let me take you out," and everything. So I'm like, I guess boredom kicked in and was like, okay, why not? Us girls, sometimes like they really want to take us. We always like to eat, so okay, we can go get something to eat. So he came and he looked good and he smelled good and everything. And I'm like, okay, but no, still too young. So we went out, we had a good time and everything. And so, after the day, he's, was still trying to talk or whatever. I'm like, no. So, the next day, again, let me take you out. I had a good time. And I did have a good time. So I'm like, okay, like we could go. So I'm thinking like we could just, just be hangout partners or whatever, right? But the thing what got me was his persistence. And so that's funny. And it's like, that sad men, they be persistent until they stop being persistent, and you already know why they stop being persistent. Well, anyway, we went out a couple of times, and when I say a couple of times, I'm gonna say like maybe 2 3 weeks or so, and we still going out and everything. And so one night we had went out, and so we was just talking, and he was like, "Oh man, I just want to kiss you." So I was like, instantly, without thinking, without trying to be mean or harsh, and I was like, "You're gonna have to go to the dentist first before you think I'm gonna kiss you." And the look on his face, and then I was like, like, my bad, like, because I was so nonchalant about him not even entertaining the thought of it being any relationship, sex, nothing, just friends. That was just all I'm thinking, like. And then if you had a friend, wouldn't you want somebody to tell you, like, to keep you up on your fronts? Okay, so this was the problem. Don't you know how somebody's mouth is so wet and it makes you swallow, or how sometimes they may have like the white stuff like in the corner of their mouth or whatever. But I mean, I told you this guy, he looked good, his fronts, his hair and everything smelled good, like clothes. He was, all right, he was just still too young for me. But at the same time, like his mouth, and I just was like, but I didn't mean to be offensive, you know what I'm saying? It just came out. And so then this is what he said: "You gonna go with me?" So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you." You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And so it was like, okay, so it was it was just funny how the whole thing, he just baited me all the way in. And especially like I said with his persistence. And then so it was like, okay, so the next thing I know, probably maybe 2 weeks or so later, he called, was talking, and so like, man, let me take you out. Let's go hang out. So now we're down like maybe 2, 3 months after I first seen him, at the college or whatever. Man, why this man that went to the dentist? I'm talking about like got the plaque off the bottom. It wasn't no more like wet mouth and all that. And I'm like, see, I helped you. That's good. That's friends too. We help each other, right? Okay. So then I guess, one thing led to another. And the thing was when this man put his mouth on me, amazing is an understatement. And it was so funny because it was like, OMG. And he was like, yeah, you've been missing out on that. Okay, so what? People have amazing sex. Well, we ain't really had sex that first time or whatever. Um, so, and I was so reserved, you know what I'm saying? Like, after when we got more comfortable with each other, and he's, after we go out, we came over, chill, still had like nightcaps and stuff. And I'm like, it's 3, 4 in the morning. Like, you need to go home so you can, he had to be at work at 6 o'clock. And he was like, you'll be up all night too if you was chasing a beautiful woman. And I was like, okay, respect. He had everything like lined up or whatever. So now, couple of more dates in, and so not only was the mouth, but the sex was so good. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this boy got me doing everything that I said I wouldn't. If I would have just stuck with, he's too young. He's too young. But that damn persistence, and then just everything else. Just imagine every time you see somebody, they look good, smell good, treat you good. Like, damn, we want to be treated like that. And so here's this young guy that really was doing the things that, you know what I'm saying, I liked and just really appreciate me as a woman. So, of course, the next thing you know, we going out every day, sexing every day, having a good time every day. Like, okay, so I'm into consistency. So that's what it was. Here's where things started to get messed up at. So now that he's spending the night at my house, this man is snoring. And I'm not talking about just a little... I'm talking about... Was fucking slobbing. This nigga didn't. I'm talking about big wet puddles on my goddamn pillows. So I'm like, well, shit. It's always something. You have the good stuff, but then listen, snoring and slobbing every night. It got to the point where I had to put a towel on my pillow to catch a slob, okay? And I'm trying to figure out, man, you better hurry up and go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, before he get the slobbing and snoring. Honey, we went to the casino one night. So, no lie. We was there, I don't know what time, but we was there for a while. And he was tired. And he was like, man, you good? Yeah, I'm good. So, he falling asleep at the casino on the machine. Y'all, while he was slobbing on the goddamn machine, slobbing on the slot machine, sleep. And embarrassment is just like, oh my God. So I'm leaning like this, like, I'm not with this man that's over here sleeping, slobbing on the machine. Needless to say, we kind of still, I overlooked all the other stuff. We were having issues because I've always been self-sufficient. That's because I had to be. If there was a man helping, I ain't saying just doing everything, because at the end of the day, as a woman, you still have to be able to hold your own even when a man isn't there. And so, I'm still was doing me, but he was like, man, you need to submit to me. You need to submit. And I'm just like, sir, how can I submit to you when you don't even know where you're going? That's the whole problem. How can I relinquish my power and my authority to you, and you still over here fumbling trying to figure out what it is that you're trying to do when I'm already on my path to greatness? And then that's when remember Big Sean got a song. I can't even remember the words. He say, I'm young, but she respect me like a father figure. This fool had the nerve to have that verse on his phone as my ringtone when I called. You know what? So I guess, because you slanging ham, that just mean I'm supposed to instantly just bow down and give in. No, it takes more than some amazing orgasms for me to do that. Shit, I could do that shit myself. The fuck? It's more fun with somebody, but at the same time. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yes, and so it's just like now, it was some other things, you know what I'm saying, that happened, but for the most part, it was like he pursued me really good. He trapped me into the whole idea of everything. But then when they got, I'm like, okay, well, we're here every day. You're sleeping in my bed every day. I don't know if he had keys. I'm real tight with my keys, but at the end of the day, it was like we had an everyday thing, like doing everything that couples do. And I'm like, okay, so I'm just trying to make sure we on the same path. Like, it's obvious, we're a couple, we're together. And he like, man, I can't be your man until I'm financially stable. Okay, but this is the whole thing. You're operating in every other way, excuse me, that couples operate except for the title. And it is not about the title, but at the same time, when things continuously go on, you women, well, I know I do. I at least want to be sure that we're on the same path. And if we're not on the same path, then I don't need to be investing my time, my life, my body, or anything like that into you. And you're just considering me just, somewhere to stay. I mean, it's nice over here, everything, but goddamn. So yeah, so right now, like, he just calls me from a block number, always like at 2:30 or 4:30 in the morning, breaking my sleep. I was just thinking about you. I bet you are, but no, because guess what? You're too young for me.